Good morning. I was asked by Shruti Kirti Prabhu, who is my most respected godbrother. Not most, but most respected. I offer my respects. To say something about Prabhupada. So I had something else planned for class, but I'll just tell, just because I said good morning, this comes from Mukunda Maharaj. Mukunda Maharaj told me that he was on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada at the Manor in the UK, Bhakti-Vedanta Manor. And as Prabhupada was walking, different members from the village were also out for their morning constitutional. And Prabhupada just exuded such grace and dignity that they could just, you could just, Prabhupada was a gentleman. He was just, there's no question about it, amongst everything else. He just emanated dignity and a sublime aristocracy. So as they would pass Prabhupada, they would say good morning. Prabhupada would say good morning back. Then Prabhupada started priming them. Prabhupada would say good morning first. They would say good morning back. Prabhupada said in this way, they are offering blessings to a Vaishnava. Then a little later, Prabhupada said, do you actually know what good morning means for the materialist? Good morning. It comes from a British saying, may you have a good morning. Actually, it's like a blessing, But Prabhupada said, for the materialist, do you know what good morning means? And then Prabhupada said, it means nothing horrible has happened yet. Prabhupada said, only a Vaishnava can say good morning. We get up, beautiful, Mangal Arati, chant japa, take prasadam, hear Srimad Bhagavatam. For them, when they wake, it's just downhill. They just wish they could go back to sleep for whatever they were dreaming. From night dream to daydream. But for the devotee, it's actually a good day. Good morning, all auspicious. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, I have the wrong glasses here. This may make for a short class. The living entity, certainly someone like me, is very proud. And the material nature is excellent at reducing pride. There are so many ironies in life. I'm looking for my glasses, but I need my glasses to find my glasses. At every moment, we are brought to the point of indignity, and yet we still think, well. So, there it is. So we are on text 48. And Hiranyakasipu has just been slayed by Lord Nrsingadev, and all the different devas are trying to pacify him, unsuccessfully, we might note. So that's what's on the, do we have a board? 48. All right. Shri Manava Uchu. You'll have to excuse me, I'm also not in the best of health. Manavo Vayam Tava Nidesha Karino Ditijena Deva Paribhuta Setava Bhavata Kala Sa Upasamrita Prabhu Karavama Te Kim Anushadhi Kinkaran Shimanava Ucho Manavo Vayam Tava Nidesha Karino Diti Jena Deva Paribhuta Setava Bhavata Kalasa Upasamrita Prabho Karavamate Kim Manushari Kinkaran Shimmanava Ucho Manavo Vayam Tava Nidesha Karino Titi Jena Deva Paribhuta Setava Bhavata Kalasa Upasamrita Prabho Karavamate Kim Manushari Kinkaran Shimmanava Ucho Manavo Vayam Tava Nidesha Karino Titi Jena Deva Paribhuta Setava Bhavata Kalasa Upasamrita Prabho Karavamate Kim Manushari Kinkaran Shimmanava Ucho. All the monarchs offered their respectful obeisances by saying, Manava, the leaders of the universal affairs, especially in connection with giving knowledge to humanity about how to live lawfully under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vayam, we, Tava, of your Lordship, Nidesha Karina, the carriers of the orders, Ditijena, by Hiranyakasipu, the son of Diti, Deva, sorry about that, O Lord, Paribhuta, disregarded, Setava, whose laws of morality concerning Varnashram Dharma in human society. Bhavata, by your lordship, Kala, most envious rascal. That's not going to do the job, but thanks for the gesture. You got a box? Anyway, thank you. Where were we? No, I'll work at my own speed. Bhavata, oh, that we read. Sa, he. Upasamrita, killed. Prabho, O Lord. Karavama, shall we do? Te, your. Kim, what? Anushari, please direct. Kinkaran, your eternal servants. Translation. All the Manus offered their prayers as follows. As your order carriers, O Lord, we, the Manus, are the lawgivers for human society. But because of the temporary supremacy of this great demon Hiranyakasipu, our laws for maintaining Varnashram Dharma were destroyed. O Lord, now that you've killed this great demon, we are in our normal condition. Kindly order us, your eternal servants, what to do now. I'll say, you say. All the Manus offered their prayers as follows. As your order carriers, O Lord, we the Manus are the lawgivers for human society. But because of the temporary supremacy of this great demon Hiranyakasipu, our laws for maintaining Varnashram Dharma were destroyed. O Lord, Now that you've killed this great demon, we are in our normal condition. Kindly order us, your eternal servants, what to do now. Purport. In many places in Bhagavad-Gita, the Supreme Lord Krishna refers to Varnashram Dharma of the 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams. He teaches people about this Varnashram Dharma so that all of human society can live peacefully by observing the principles of the 4 social divisions and 4 spiritual divisions, Varna and Ashram, and thus make advancement in spiritual life. The Manus compiled the Manu Samhita. The word Samhita means Vedic knowledge, and Manu indicates this knowledge is given by Manu. The Manus are sometimes incarnations of the Supreme Lord and sometimes empowered living entities. Formerly, many long years ago, Lord Krishna instructed the sun god. The Manus are generally sons of the sun god. Therefore, while speaking to Arjuna about the importance of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna said, Imam vivashvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivishvan manvate praha. This instruction was given to Vivishvan, the sun god, who in turn instructed his son Manu. Manu gave the laws known as Manu Samhita, which is full of directions based on Varnashram concerning how to live as a human being. These are very scientific ways of life, but under the rule of demons like Hiranyakasipu, human society breaks all these systems of law and order and gradually becomes lower and lower. Thus, there is no peace in the world. The conclusion is that if we want real peace and order in human society, we must follow the principles laid down by the Manu Samhita and confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Gana Timarandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Jakshu Shrimadatangena Tazare Shri Gurave Namaha. Well, there's a saying that you judge a thing by the results. Or as they say in America, talk is cheap. One devotee said to Pearl Bund, but in the West, modern culture, so-called culture, that's an oxymoron. You know, modern culture is like saying military intelligence or country music. You know, they're contradictory terms. But they said, Prabhupada, they're so opulent. Prabhupada said, what opulence? He said, their opulence is glass and plastic. They don't even have the opulence of one moment's peace of mind. Hello there. I had a friend, so-called friend, before I became a devotee, trying to become a devotee. And his father was very wealthy. He wanted a good deal on a car, Alhambra Motors, Gaudi Motors. He had about 5 or 6 car dealerships. And so I was visiting my friend in his house. And the man, beautiful house, tiered down the cliff, overlooking the ocean. He was on his 3rd trophy wife. Each one he traded in for a younger, more beautiful wife. And his servant, butler, brought dinner. Your dinner is served, sir. And they took off the cover of the, gold embossed china. And what he had was a bowl of barley soup and 2 wafers. And he soaked the wafers in the barley soup and then lapped it up. Because he had an ulcer. He was so much anxiety about the whole thing that in so much tension he couldn't digest anything. And I remember many years later, I was with, Pancharatna, I forget exactly who, and we went out to visit one of the Namhata, head of one of the Namhats out from Mayapur. Now, I believe that West Bengal has one of the lowest per capita incomes in the world. I don't know, Zimbabwe, I don't know, whatever it's out there, but And we took prasadam. And it was a grass hut, bamboo and then the thatched hut, clay, cow dung floor. He was there with his wife, his first wife, all of his faithful children. J. Paul Getty, who was the richest man in the world at one point in time, where is he now? where his riches, where's J. Paul Getty? He may be rolling in Calcutta, playing in the gutter, playing harmonica. Who knows where he is now, you know? But he said there's two types of people in this world. Richest man in the world. This is how he saw the world. He said there's two types of people in the world. There's people you pay to stay with you, and people you pay to stay away from you. What kind of happiness is that? What kind of world? He had a payphone in his house, by the way. He made his neighbors use a payphone. His friends, guests. So this man had all of his first wife. He had all of his children with him. We had a feast. Nice basmati or Govinda Bhog rice with ghee. So many sabjis, nice fruit, some Bengali. You know, it's nice with rice, valid with salad, a lunch with crunch, but not complete without a sweet. So some nice Bengali, some jalebi or something. It was a feast. You know, everything had probably grown within, 10 miles of his house, fresh. So you tell me, who's rich, who's poor? Please help me out here. Who's rich, who's poor? The man with an ulcer who can't even eat a barley, soup with a wafer, and completely in anxiety? Shatadanya told me one time, he met Burla, I forget which one. Prabhupada said one time, any Burla will do, So I don't know which Burla it was. But they brought him a nice picture of Radha Madhava. I think it was a picture of Radha Madhava. And he said, how much is it? He wanted to pay for it. So the devotee said, oh, you can't pay for this. You can't afford it. He said, I'm Burla. What do you mean I can't afford it? He said, no, you can't afford it. And he later on, he kind of opened up. He said, my whole life is anxiety. He said, I'm afraid to open the window because the wind will blow in and ask me for money. So what kind of life is that, So you tell me, who's rich, who's poor? There was a study done. You think they would study these things, I told that joke yesterday, so I won't tell it again. But the materialists measure a successful society. They call it GDP, which means gross domestic product. And it's gross in every sense of the word, dense, dull, low class. But they measure how many durable goods, things that last, I think, longer than 3 years, washing machines, airplanes, whatever it is. And whatever they have the G9, they're the top industrial nations. That's how they measure GDP, gross domestic product. Now, and they're considered the most successful. Okay, let's look at that for a moment. As there are measures for a so-called materially advanced society, there's other measures. We're going to get into Varnashram. I'm not even talking about Vedic social system now. We're just talking about common sense. There's measures of a society under stress. What's the divorce rate? What's the incarceration rate? What's the criminal rate? How many are below poverty? What's the dropout rate? I mean, you can measure. There are, the numbers don't lie. You can measure what is the signs of a society that's under stress, an unhealthy society. We're not making this up, just because I love the Bhagavatam and therefore, I'm going to squeeze. No, just look at the numbers. This professor, I forget his name, this comes, for copyright, from Radhanath Maharaj told me this. He was speaking at the London School of Economics, and he made this example to them. London School of Economics, they're the top, financiers and visionaries of the economic world. So, this professor at Harvard took those measures of a society under stress, divorce rate, criminal, incarceration rate, suicide rate, whatever. Jai Shri Krishna Balaram, Jai Radha, Shama Sundar, Jai Gaura. And lo and behold, guess what he found? The nations with the highest GDP, the most so-called successful, high-producing nations also are the same societies with the highest stressors, signs of a diseased society. Highest divorce rate, highest suicide rate, highest criminal rate, so many things. So they're not successful. Radhanath Maharaj said, you study GDP, you should study GDH, gross domestic happiness. Is your society happy? What is the caliber? What is the nature of the people? Somebody told me, oh, India's going to hell in a handbasket. You put something down, you come back 10 minutes later, it's gone. I said, hey, at least in India, they wait till you put it down. In New York, they come with a gun and take it. They don't even get a decent interval of forgetting it, you know? So, one of the words in here is Saitava. And the translation, one of the meanings means like a dike. You know a dike? You know the Netherlands? No. The Netherlands. They're called the Netherlands because the ocean is here and the land is this, and they have a dike. They have a wall that holds back the ocean, the North Sea. What happens if that wall's gone? Huh? Get out your flippers and fins. There goes Amsterdam's underwater. It's holding it back. The nature of this world is degradation. Prabhupada says when the living entities come to this world, when they fall from the spiritual world, yes, I said it, back to Godhead. You can't go back where you haven't been from. Prabhupada knew the English language, I'm sorry to say. Anyway, Prabhupada said when one comes to this material world, one starts out first class. But by the burning desire to enjoy and becoming entangled in karma, one becomes more and more degraded. So this material world, it is one devotee, he envisioned himself as a poet. Jamadagni, remember Jamadagni? Envisioned himself as a poet. And he would come and go from the temple. And he left a note one time and it said, I know not where I goeth, but I'll be where the wind bloweth. I mean, good luck. Shakespeare doesn't need to worry. But where does the wind blow things? If you throw a piece of paper up in the sky, will it float up to Swarga Loka? Where will it go? Everything blows right into the gutter. That's the nature of this world. Everything becomes degraded. Everything decreases. It talks here, what is the wording? It says, the scientific ways of life, Prabhupada says in the purport. Human form of life has a purpose. This is the great existential question. Why are we here? Why is anything? Shouldn't we ask that question? When I was a kid, I don't know if this will culturally translate, but there was a little ditty we used to sing. Row, row, row your boat gently down a stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Do they sing that in India? Huh? No? Okay, well. The average American under hypnosis can remember 357 commercial jingles. That's what's stuffed in here, so That's when Prabhupada said, I was in Prabhupada's room, a little off track, but it's okay. I was in Prabhupada's room, and a man said, this chanting is brainwashing. We all know Prabhupada's classic answer. Prabhupada said, if the brain is dirty, shouldn't you wash it? Because that's what's rattling around in there. And then we kept going. Prabhupada said, actually get a brain, then we'll wash it. The man said, I have a brain. Prabhupada said, if you have a brain, it is cow dung. Later on, Prabhupada said, I can say this, you cannot. Prabhupada said, don't go out there, brahmacharis, on book distribution, because you'll lose your teeth, it's not a good approach. Prabhupada said it's a special dispensation for old men and little children. They can go anywhere and say anything, But what is the purpose of life? Are we just randomly being blown by the winds of fate? I went to my high school reunion. I did not want to go, but the devotees prevailed on me. And I met one man. He'd become quite wealthy, materially. And he told me, he said, well, when you joined the Hare Krishna movement, I thought you'd had some psychotic break with reality. I really did. In America, we didn't, these things are unknown, And, he said, actually, we were going to try, some of my so-called friends, they were going to try and come and capture me out of the temple and bring me back to reality, so-called reality. But my parents told him, we tried already, he's too far gone, there's nothing you can do. So he told me, that it was quite moving actually. He asked me, can we talk? He took me aside. And he said, I grabbed life with both hands. He said, everything I want, I have. He said, I grabbed life with both hands. And then he said, but happiness has slipped right through my fingers. Smart guy. He said, actually, you did the right thing. And then he said to me, is it too late for me? I said, no, never, better late than never, It's never too late. So, what is the purpose of life? And here it's described, a life of dignity. And you know this guy, Mr. Whitchurch, who I can never repay. He was an English literature teacher. He was a good guy, a good teacher at least. And there's a poem, Prabhupada would quote poetry sometimes. There was a poem by T.S. Eliot. It's called The Hollow Man. And it's talking about so-called modern culture. The last line is, how does the world end? Not with a bang, but with a whimper. In other words, it's not that there's some big cataclysmic, but people become degraded till they're just living like gerbils. Prabhupada said, a pigeonhole in a skyscraper building. That's the goal of human life? Go home and get free cable or something, That's life? That's what human life is meant for? To scrape out some little life of existence to fill your belly? There was a devotee, Dharma Setu. He's a wonderful devotee in San Diego. And he does all of our ceremonies and funerals and things. We were at a funeral, and there's some eulogy. If we have time afterwards, I'll tell you an American joke about a funeral. But there's some eulogy. They offer some praise of the person. So this man, they kept saying, people would come up, sons, friends, brother-in-law, they would come and say something. And they said he was always on call. You could reach out, you could be in the Himalayan caves and break your leg. You could call him and he would come and get you. You could call him at 2 o'clock in the morning. He was always on call. You could always reach out and call him. 3 or 4 guys said this. Then we heard this, bring, 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 bring. A phone was ringing with somebody's cell phone. Turns out, the guy in the coffin, his cell phone was still in his coat. Dharma Setu had to reach into the coffin and shut the phone off. Dharma turned to me and said, he's out of range now. You can't reach out and call him now. Where is he? Where did he go? Prabhupada, there's a tape. You can hear the tape. Again, because Prabhupada, we could give a class sometime. We don't have time today. We could give a class about how Prabhupada was able to reach. Because Prabhupada genuinely cared without any ego. He didn't want anything from anybody. He was completely, he wouldn't want to leave Vrindavan. Prabhupada didn't want anything from anybody. And he just wanted to give. He actually cared about people. Hari Sari tells the story that Prabhupada rang his bell one time, 2 o'clock in the morning. There was some little bug, and there was some sandesh. Prabhupada had a few pieces of sandesh to give him a little energy during his translating. Prabhupada broke off a piece of sandesh, gave it to Hari Sari, and said, pick up this bug. I've been watching this bug. He's been trying to climb up the desk all day long, all night long. He must be very tired. He must be very hungry. Give him the sandesh and take him outside. You know? I don't want to mention names. There was someone, morning walk in Calcutta. They walked through the zoo in Calcutta Zoo. And there was the lion, Bengal tiger, you know, big, noble animal, king of the jungle. So the devotee wanted to get the tiger to roar. He was throwing rocks at him, trying to get the lion to roar. Prabhupada said, no. Prabhupada said, he was king of the jungle. Now look at his condition. He's suffering enough. So Prabhupada even had empathy for the Bengal tiger, the king of the jungle, now captured in the cage. He had empathy for the little tiny, bug. Oh, give it a little sandesh, free it, So people could sense that about Srila Prabhupada. And because they could sense it, their heart would just open up. I saw it many times. They would just confide in Prabhupada as they'd never confided in anyone else. But on the other side, you can't do A unless you have B, unless you can't hit people like this. But Prabhupada could do it. So this man on the tape, I think it's in Mumbai, he's going on and on and on about my father. It's because of my father, built up our business empire, and my father got this house, and I had a good mother and father. I can never repay them. I'm very grateful to my mother and father, no doubt about it. Mother is the Adi Guru. She's the first teacher. So we're not discounting any of that. Don't go zip over that way and miss this part. But the man he couldn't hear what Prabhupada was saying. He said, my father this, my father, Prabhupada stopped him. Finally, Prabhupada, after trying gently, Prabhupada stopped him and said, and where is your father now? The man stopped. Prabhupada said, he may be a cockroach in the commode. I mean, I don't know how you can get much heavier than that. But, it actually shook the guy. He actually, broke him out of his, cultural stupor and actually woke him up. So where does it all go? What is the purpose of life? What do you have to show for it? What happens at the time of death? And to scrape out a miserly living no better than the cats and dogs, that is not human life. Prabhupada came to New York City, which at that time, I don't know what you would say now, but it really was the capital of the world, New York City. Prabhupada said the most important city in the most important country. Now America is becoming third world, but that's another story. Prabhupada's observation of New York City, big skyscrapers, so many things. Prabhupada said the whole place smells like dog stool. He was not impressed. He wasn't impressed by the thing. So, human form of life is meant, it has a goal, it has a direction. It is meant to be lived with dignity, with nobility, with charity. We should measure. Bhishma Dev gives his instructions to human form of life. How to live a life of dignity. That is what we are getting in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said we know who is who, we know what is what. We know how to deal with people. We know what the goal of life is. We know what's valuable. We have been given a priceless jewel. You have to have, what is it Chanakya Pandit says? That, the village people, they just take that berries and decorate with some berries. They don't appreciate a nice jewel. So we have been given a priceless jewel. Human form of life. Prabhupada gave the morning program. We didn't get up. I moved into the temple in 1970 in Laguna Beach and then in Los Angeles, and we did not have Mangal Arti. We knew that there was something going on because Shalavati was the head pujari in Los Angeles. And if we went out to the flower market, You had to go early to get good prices, good quality. So I think we would go 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And if you did it, when you came back, you got some sweets. And the sweets, because you got back around 5 o'clock, and these sweets came from something called Mangalarti. We didn't know what it was. We knew there was something. She was the only one there. We had small Rukmini Dwarkanath. And then Prabhupada wrote a letter. Prabhupada said, this is the morning program. 4:30 Mangalarti, Japa, Bhagavad-Gita. We were getting up around 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh, we were shocked. 4:30 in the morning, Sudama's brother, he had that younger brother, was cooking. And he fell asleep. Everyone fell asleep. Devotees fell asleep. Vishnu Jan, the Jai Om prayers, Jai Om, fell asleep playing harmonium. Devotees fell asleep at the stoplight. The light would turn green. The devotees would be sound asleep in the car. Vishnu Jan's brother fell asleep. He had his beads around his neck. He fell asleep. His head, by Krishna's grace, there was a hood that catches the fume, so it was against the hood. So his body was propped up. His beads fell into the walk of ghee. He cooked up his beads. They became little black briquettes, bubbled up, So it was a shock to us. But in Prabhupada's letter he wrote, he said, this is the morning program. It is a bulwark against Maya. Bulwark means that setu. I was saying that setu bandhu, holding back the material nature. We have to, human form of life, we are meant to do our business and get out. We're meant to become Krishna conscious. We're meant to become pure devotees of Krishna. You read in this thing, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the different devas are offering their prayers. They all want something. The Nagas want their jewels back. Were taken by Hiranyakasipu. The Devas, they want their kingdom back. They want the Nanda gardens back. Everybody wants something. The Siddhas, they lost all their mystic power. They want their mystic powers back. They all want something. And therefore, none of them could pacify Krishna. Prahlad, I'm not a businessman. I don't want anything. He fully satisfied Lord Nrsingadev. So, the point I'm trying to make, it's the same eternal message of Bhagavatam. People say that they own things. You own things. I own so many things. Actually, you don't own things. Things own you. You have to maintain it. You have to maintain the car. You have to maintain the glasses. You have to maintain these glasses. Just the other day, I went to read something, ping! Lens fell out, They were made in Bombay. You get what you pay for. So, simple point is that why lead a life? Another thing about a funeral. I've never been to a funeral when they praised the things the person had. I've never been to a funeral when they said, he had a brand new red Mercedes. They never say that. Rather, they talk about the qualities of the person, what the person gave, what they did for others. So our simple point is, Prahlad Maharaj says, I'm not going to last much longer. Prahlad Maharaj says, anybody here set out this morning trying to become unhappy? Did any of you, when you woke up in this morning, say, I really want to be miserable today? Let me count the ways. Raise your hand. Anybody here make a plan how to be miserable? Is any distress going to come to you today? What do you think? Now, you're all transcendentalists, like the coconut, and the coconut pulp is separate, so I recognize it's the wrong audience to ask this question. But in principle, there will be some difficulty, isn't it? We don't ask for it. It comes automatically, out of the blue. You're just driving in your car, somebody smashes into your car. So many far out things happen. This world is not a nice place. It's a difficult place, frankly. Read the instructions on the label. You know, when you buy something, you read the instructions, the ingredients. Krishna puts the ingredients right on the label. It's temporary and it's full of misery. People know, but not for me. So the point I'm making is that what this human form of life is meant for, the misery, distress, trouble will come unsought. Nobody seeks it, and it comes. What is the blissful sutra? Prahlad Maharaj, making that observation, flips it over on the other side. Remember I said, anybody wake up this morning to be miserable? No, we all want to become happy. So what does Prahlad Maharaj say? As misery comes unsought, happiness will come unsought. It'll come automatically. It will come. Doesn't mean we don't do our duty. We're not talking any of that business. But it will come. So why not, instead of scratching out a living like a polished dog or cat, why not live a life of nobility? Why not live a life that does good for others, real good for others, permanent good for others? Why not give this life to ISKCON? Doesn't mean everybody moves into the brahmacharya ashram. I'm not talking about that. But everybody can do something. Everybody's a how, you can do some. We have a lady, she's passed away. She was the oldest living disciple of Prabhupada, Braja Bradu. She couldn't remember whether she was 96 or 106. Remember Braja Bradu? She said, I lost track, Prabhu. She would call me, she would lose things. She said, I lost my teeth. Badri, I lost my teeth. We'd send somebody over to find her teeth, you know. It's true, isn't it? I'm not making it up. So, she was an old lady. She had so many infirmities. She would come almost every day, and she would sweep the patio of the San Diego temple. It's true, isn't it? And she would just take, whoosh, and she'd rest. Whoosh, then she'd rest. It would take her all morning. She'd get there about 9 o'clock. She'd get done just in time to take the last bus home. We tried to take it away. We tried to stop her. I said, Mata, there's so many brahmacharis. No. She told me one time, why did she like to sweep? She told me because this way the dust of all the devotees blows onto me. I thought, this lady's advanced. This is actually a very advanced lady. So why not live a life? I told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. I've got a few minutes. Anyway, who cares about me? I volunteered. There was a suicide crisis line. And it was for teenagers. This was at Laguna Beach, a very well-to-do place, materially. And yet they had a high suicide rate amongst kids. Teenagers, teenagers. They shouldn't be committing suicide. That should be the most carefree time of your life. But they didn't have they had the signs up, 1-800, crisis line for teenagers. But they didn't have enough money to fully fund it. So sometimes you'd call, you're on the bridge ready to jump. You reach out for one last, maybe the touch of human kindness. You call the 800 number and they put you on hold. You jump, So they called for volunteers. I volunteered. And they give you a cue card. They give you a little card. They say that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. You follow? I mean, you commit suicide, game over. That's it, materially. So you try to get people to look beyond what their immediate crisis is. You try to, well, there's tomorrow, you've got a future, what about, So they give you a cue card. They had a backup one time. I think I was 16 years old. They had a backup from the adult crisis line, and I got an adult. I'm a kid, I was 16 years old, but the guy's, he's ready to jump. I figured, okay, fine, I'll give it a shot. So I'm reading my little cue card, and I said, well, I forget how we started, but what will your family think? You commit suicide, you're going to crush them. My wife divorced me. She left me, ran off with another man, changed the locks. The guy told me, he came home, the wife had changed all the locks in the house. He couldn't get into his own house. That's cold. So, but what about your kids? You got kids. The kids only write me when they want money. They don't care about me. I'm just a paycheck for them. I said, well, you got your career. I was fired yesterday. Well, where there's life, there's hope. You've got your health. I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I was done. I got done with I was thinking, where are you? I'll give you a push. I didn't say that, but I was thinking, how can I help this guy? I'm not helping him. If somebody's being pulverized, in Irish boxing, anyway. You're up against the champion boxer. You're not going to win. You get paid by how many rounds you can last in a boxing ring. You can go 5 rounds, 10 rounds. You get paid by the round. The guy's just getting pulverized. Ding, he gets you're doing great, champ. Puts ice on and patches him, puts him back in the ring. Jeez, the guy gets pulverized. Ding, puts him back, patch him back up, send him back in. Are you his friend sending him back in that ring? Is that a friend? Will a friend do that to you? You say, hey, give it up, man. Get out of the ring. Nobody gets out of here alive. Nobody. Nobody takes one single thing with them, and nobody gets out of here alive. Sans teeth, sans hair, sans everything, Shakespeare says. You leave it all, nothing. Except your bad karma. That you take with you. But we can help people. How to live a life of dignity. Prabhupada said the best thing a parent can do is teach his child how to tolerate. Prabhupada said a measure of a man's strength is the ability to tolerate. If I have a fire, we'll end here, but suppose I have a fire and I throw more fuel on the fire. Does the fire go out? I have some samosas here, some nice samosas. I haven't broken my Kadasi fast, so I'm thinking about samosas. So I have 1 samosa, 2 samosas, 3 samosas. I'm finished. Thank you very much. I'm done. I'm satiated. Does the fire ever become satiated? You throw wood on it. Hey, it's aged mesquite wood. Does the fire burn? Thank you very much. That hit the spot and go out. What does Krishna say about fire? The fire of lust. What does it say? What does he say? Burns like fire, never satisfied. It's there on the label. Temporary, full of misery, burns like fire, never satisfied. Why get on that like a hamster on a wheel? Round and around and around. Why? So, Vedic culture, Varnashram Dharma, human form of life is meant to be progressive. It's happy in this life. We can give shelter to others, real shelter, real happiness, and enjoy our actual happiness ourselves. So we should end there. That's the real thing. Don't pray to Krishna for so many. Everybody's looking for a secret formula. Everyone's always, you sit here someday. You get so many how to do questions, How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do, where's the secret formula? Where's that? Confirmed. Prabhupada said, this is Vaishnava. Vaishnava means give me enough room to lie down, little simple prasadam. Other than that, let me serve. A man asked Prabhupada one time, newspaper reporter, this is when he asked Prabhupada, why is it, you've come from India, you've come to the West, we have everything, you have nothing, you're a third world country begging for powdered milk. What can you do? Death rate's so high in India. Prabhupada said death rate's the same everywhere, 100%. That threw the guy back for a minute, But the guy he tried to catch, we don't have time, but he tried to catch Prabhupada in so many ways, and Prabhupada was just, expert wrestler, expert logician, because he knew the truth, Finally, the man in exasperation said, well, what would happen if everyone became Krishna conscious? Prabhupada said, don't worry, there'll always be fools like you who won't. Don't try, kids don't try that at home, But the fact of the matter is, what happens if the whole world becomes Krishna conscious? We have people working, there's children, there's families, there's jobs, there's careers, people are doing so many things. I'll leave you with one last example. It's a Christian example, but hey, you can take a good lesson from a fool, gold from an unclean place, and nectar from a stalk of poison. A man dies and he goes to heaven. And when he gets to heaven, you know what they say? Pearly gates, celestial music, beautiful gardens. Everything's, hey, I made it. You know, fantastico. Everything's beautiful. He hears some singing and some music coming from one of the palatial buildings. He goes in. Everyone's there in finery, fine clothing. They're at a big, big table. Everything you can possibly imagine. Sumptuous spread. Only one problem. Everybody's chained and they can't reach their mouth. The guy says, oh, I'm in hell. I must be in hell. And he wakes up. Next thing he knows, he's in a similar place. Beautiful buildings, celestial gardens, people, music, everything's, breezes, fragrant breezes blowing. He again hears some voices. He again goes into a palatial building. Again, everything's spread out. Beautiful feast. Again, everyone's chained. The only difference is they're all feeding each other. Exact same place, different mentality, difference between heaven, difference between hell. Change in mentality. We become Vaishnavas, and you're all saintly Vaishnavas. I'm speaking to myself. The whole world becomes transformed. Individually, collectively. Prabhupada said, my disease is I cannot think small. We are not meant for small things. We're meant to change the world. I was in Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada said, actually, I've given you the structure. Just go. Prabhupada said 18 days, Yudhishthira Maharaj went from being hunted in the forest, 18 days, being hunted in the forest. They were fleeing. They had our incognito and all that. Prabhupada said in 18 days, he went from being hunted in the forest like an animal, Prabhupada's exact words, to being emperor of the world, 18 days. Prabhupada said, why 18 days? 18 hours. Krishna will give you the world. Then Prabhupada said, but what will you do with it? Simply sleep. Pretty heavy. Prabhupada actually said, same darshan, Prabhupada said, just as Lord Ram conquered with monkey soldiers, I am spreading this movement with monkey disciples. That's pretty heavy, We thought, well, yeah, he's got that one right, But Prabhupada said, I've given you the structure, just go and decorate it. And then Prabhupada said, actually, I've given you the decorations, just go and hang them. So we have it. We have everything. We have everything for our personal happiness. We have everything for the happiness of the world. We just have to do it. The world is crying, waiting for us. Okay, we can end there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.